بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Hadith class. Today inshallah we are moving to the fifth book of the books of Sunnah and the third book after the two books of the Sahihs. Today we have Sunan al-Imam al-Nasa'i, and what we will take today is the introduction. The introduction to the book and the author of the book. We will start with the biography of the Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah. His name, his birth and death, his life, his trips, what he wrote, and the book. The differences between his book and the other books, the qualities of his book. First, we will start with his name. Most people know Sunan al-Nasa'i, but what's the name of this Imam? Imam al-Nasa'i, what's his name? His name is Ahmad ibn Shu'aib ibn Ali ibn Sinan al-Nasa'i. Ahmad ibn Shu'aib ibn Ali. That's his name. Nasa'i, based on his town, which is called Nasa. Nasa is a town in Khurasan. Khurasan is the eastern Iran and the western Afghanistan. That's Khurasan. So that's where Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah was born. Why this city, this town was called Nasa? Historians said that when the Muslims conquered that city, the men were out of that city, and they only found women. So they called it the city of women, and women in Arabic means nisa. So that's why it was called the city of Nasa. Another opinion says that when the Muslims came to that city, the women went out and they wanted to fight. But the Muslims refused to fight women, and it was called the city of Nasa. Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah was born in the year 215, and he died in the year 303. He was born in the year 215 and he died in the year 303. Now, you need to compare between the previous Imams and Imam al-Nasa'i. Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah, when he was born, when did he die? Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, when he was born and when did he die? This will help you, because also you are required to know that. I may ask you about this as well. Imam Nasa'i rahimahullah, as we said, he was born in the year 215. From early age, he started traveling to seek knowledge. When he was 15, and that means what year? 230 of the Hijrah. When he was 15 years old, he met with his first Sheikh, Qutayba ibn Sa'id. And Qutayba ibn Sa'id is very famous Imam. He remained with him for 14 months. And that's why we will have in his book of Sunan, more than 10% of the ahadith from this Imam alone. Qutayba ibn Sa'id. He narrated from him 682 hadith from this Imam only. Then the Imam left and he went to Baghdad, Al-Kufa, Al-Basra, Mecca, Al-Medina. Damascus, Dimashq, and Egypt. And he stayed in Egypt for a while. So look how many cities and places he visited. And always traveling, subhanallah, it helps the person. He met with all those shuyukh and he learned from them and he took from them. He did not only take hadith, but also he took other sorts of knowledge, like al-qira'at in the Quran, until he became the imam. At his time, Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah already passed away. Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah already passed away. So he was the imam, where everyone wanted to go and learn from. In these trips, he met with over or approximately 450 sheikh. Imagine that number, 450 sheikh. This is about his trips. What about his description? The people who documented his biography, they mentioned that he was a very beautiful man. He was handsome. And he used to take care of himself. Also, they mentioned that he was married to 4 women. And not only that, but also he always had slave girls as well. And this is something difficult to do, to have 4 women and at the same time to be a great scholar. Now, in general, many scholars, they were married to more than 1 wife. But to be married to 4 women and to have also more than that?
Just the travel part, to travel with all of them is very difficult.
Yeah, this is also another thing. Did he travel with them, or when he stayed in Egypt, he married the rest of them? He also used to wear beautiful garments. Again, he used to take care of himself. And look at this balance. Usually people, if they are so involved with knowledge, they don't care about other things. Or if they are caring too much about their appearance, how they look like, what they are dressed, usually you won't find with them that deep knowledge. But the Imam, rahimahullah, was an exception. He was able to balance all these things. Even his food was special. Every day he used to eat rooster and drink the raisins juice. The grape, after it becomes raisins, it was squeezed and he used to drink that juice. So again, he took care of himself. And that caused for him some problems sometimes. One time, he went to a sheikh to narrate from him. That sheikh's name is Al-Harith ibn Miskin. And he is mentioned a lot. Al-Harith ibn Miskin. So Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah comes to this sheikh, Al-Harith ibn Miskin, asking him to teach him. He wanted to narrate from him the hadith. So Al-Harith ibn Miskin looks at him. He finds a handsome man with very beautiful dressings. He's dressed up very well. So he asked lots of money. He told him, I will teach you, but I need that amount. He gave him a big figure. Imam Nasa'i rahimahullah refused. He was not that much rich. But Al-Harith ibn Miskin was deceived by the appearance of Imam Nasa'i. There is nothing wrong with looking handsome, with dressing nice clothes. That's okay. But people sometimes, they thought that this Imam, he's a rich man. He is not a scholar, but rather he is son of one of the richest people or so on. So Imam Nasa'i rahimahullah refused. So Al-Harith ibn Miskin kicked him out. He refused to teach him. Imam Nasa'i rahimahullah turned and he sat behind the curtain. So Al-Harith ibn Miskin did not see him. And Imam Nasa'i was listening. And he wrote the hadith. Why? Imam Nasa'i was a student of knowledge at that time. He wanted to learn. So he cared about the knowledge. Imagine someone kicking you out, yet you still want to learn. So he recorded all the ahadith from Al-Harith ibn Miskin, yet because Imam Nasai rahimahullah was very pious, he was a righteous man, he did not say حدثنا Al-Harith ibn Miskin, because حدثنا implies that you heard from him, mouth to mouth, you heard from him directly, without any barrier, without any narrator in the middle. While this did not happen, Al-Harith ibn Miskin did not do hadith to him, he refused. So you find in his book, Al-Harith ibn Miskin, without حدثنا, without even from. And at the first time, people were baffled. What did Imam Nasai mean? Then they knew about this story. Imam Nasai, he did not want to lie. He did not want to deceive people, to do tadlis. And at the same time, he wanted to produce this knowledge. So he said, Al-Harith ibn Miskin, from so-and-so, from so-and-so. And he narrates the hadith. So look at the righteousness of this Imam. He used to fast every other day. So 3 days a week or 4 days a week. He used to fast the fasting of Dawood. And again, as I told you, how difficult is this to balance between all these things? And it was mentioned that he had lots of ibadah, qiyamul layl. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed those imams and benefited from them. Because they had sincere intentions. That's what we recount them. And what they conceal is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to judge. But definitely they were mentioned a lot with good things. One quality of this Imam rahimahullah, although he used to look nice, he used to take care of himself, he refused to accompany the rulers and the leaders at that time. Why? He did not want to be corrupt like them. He did not want to be busy and to be consumed with their matters. And you can compare this to our time, where many people like to be with the rulers, with the leaders. They want to be in the media. They want to be mentioned here and there. That was not the case with Imam Nasai rahimahullah. One thing is mentioned about Imam Nasai rahimahullah is that he was very strict. In hadith, he was very strict. We have people who are lenient, and we have people who are moderate, in the middle. And we have people who are strict. Imam Nasai rahimahullah was very strict. And that's why his collection of hadith is of the most authentic hadith. After Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, the collection of Imam Nasai is the least of weak hadith. Why? He was very strict. Actually, some narrators that Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim rahimahumullah chose, he said about them, they are not that strong. Because he was very strict. Some narrators from al-Bukhari and Muslim, Imam Nasai rahimahullah said about them, they are not that strong. So this is part of the life of Imam al-Nasai rahimahullah. Now another thing, his teachers and his students. Of his teachers, Qutaybah ibn Sa'id, as we mentioned, Imam Nasai rahimahullah stayed with him for 14 months. Muhammad ibn Bashar, the narrator who is known as Bundar, and he is narrator from or for the two Imams, al-Bukhari and Muslim. Muhammad ibn Bashar. Yunus ibn Abd al-A'la, again very famous narrator. Then we have of his students Abu Bakr ibn al-Haddad. And this student is special. He took from many shuyukh, including Imam al-Nasai rahimahullah. But he said, I accepted Imam al-Nasai as a medium between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He refused to narrate to any of his shuyukh. He said, enough and sufficient for me what I took from Imam al-Nasai. I accepted him as an excuse for me before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Look at the influence of the Sheikh on the student. If you like that Sheikh, and that's what happened to Abu Bakr ibn al-Haddad, he liked Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah, and he found that he is the perfect Sheikh. He doesn't need anything more, although he narrated from many shuyukh. But he chose only what was narrated from Imam al-Nasa'i. That's all. He did not narrate from anyone else. Abu Awana rahimahullah, he is one of the scholars who compiled the book, Musnad Abi Awana. It is a very well known book. Abu Ja'far al-Tahawi, of his students. Abu Ja'far al-Tahawi, he wrote a famous book in Aqidah, Al-Aqidah al-Tahawiyya. He is also a well-known scholar. Al-Imam al-Tabarani, the author of the three Ma'ajim, Mu'jam al-Tabarani al-Kabir, al-Awsat, and al-Saghir. Imam al-Tabarani, very well-known Imam. Ibn Hibban, Abu Hatim ibn Hibban al-Busti, also the Imam who wrote the Sahih. Look, all his students are great Imams. Al-Busti. As usual, every Imam will be tested. And this is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah loves someone, He will test him. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Prophets. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested the companions. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, and others, many other scholars were tested, including Imam al-Nasa'i. We mentioned the trial of Imam al-Bukhari with the fitna of the creation of the Quran. The same thing now, trial with Imam al-Nasa'i. Imam al-Nasa'i remained for a while in Egypt. Then he moved to Damascus. When he entered Damascus, he saw that people are exaggerating in their love to Muawiyah. And they are blaspheming and bashing the family of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ali radiallahu anhu and his family, Al al-Bayt. And Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they love all the companions, and they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with all of them, but they also love the family of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because of the fitna that happened between Muawiyah and Ali radiallahu anhu, people exaggerated in their love to Ali, and people exaggerated in their hate to Ali radiallahu anhu. People in Damascus, some of them, they exaggerated and they started cursing Ali radiallahu anhu aloud. So Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah, as a scholar, he saw that. He entered Damascus. Some people, and this will happen always, you will always find people, troublemakers. That's their job. And they cannot abandon this. That's how, subhanAllah, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them. Instead of taking advantage of a great Imam coming, rather they ask him provoking question. And this is what happened to Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah. When he came and he wrote a book about the virtues of Ali radiallahu anhu, some people asked him, how about Muawiyah? What do you think of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu? So Imam Nasa'i rahimahullah narrated the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا أشبع الله بطنه. May Allah not fill his belly. And that hadith is authentic. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that. And that, the scholars consider this as a praise to Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. But the people were so offended. How come you say something like that about Muawiyah radiallahu anhu? So what did they do? They beat him up. They step over him. They injure him. He's bleeding to death. He was beaten up to the extent that he was unable to walk alone. So people carried him, and he asked them to take him out of Damascus, and in the way he passed away. Rahimahullah. So this is an example of how it is very easy to do something evil. Instead of taking advantage of what he wrote, of the trips of his shuyukh, they killed him. Now, we move to the book, which is Sunan al-Nasa'i. The book that we have is a collection from a bigger collection. Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah first wrote a book, and that book is called As-Sunan al-Kubra, or the Grand Sunan. Then, from that book, he chose a hadith. He chose a collection, and that was called Al-Mujtaba. Al-Mujtaba means the chosen, or As-Sunan al-Sughra, the smaller Sunan, or the minor Sunan. And that's the book that the scholars considered one of the books of Sunnah, one of the 6 books. Is it the Kubra or the Sughra? It is As-Sughra, As-Sunan al-Sughra. Although that book was bigger, yet what is considered as one of the books of Sunnah, of the 6 books, is As-Sughra, the smaller one, the smaller collection, which is called Al-Mujtaba. Nowadays, when people say Sunan al-Nasa'i, what do they mean by that? Al-Kubra or As-Sughra? As-Sughra, the small one. That's what they mean by that. Although As-Sunan al-Kubra is available, but not as much as As-Sughra. And what is translated to English is As-Sunan al-Sughra, not al-Kubra. In this book, in this Sunan, he narrated from 334 Sheikh. And his Sunan, the book consists of 51 chapters. In contrast to the other scholars, 48, 56, 94 or so. Each scholar, how many books he has? Imam Nasai rahimahullah has 51 books in his Sunan. When we say Sunan, what should be the first book in Sunan? Iman? What's the meaning of Sunan? Sunan is compiled according to the order of fiqh chapters. That's why it is Sunan. If we start with Iman, it is not a book of Sunan. It is Jami', like Sahih Bukhari or Sahih Muslim. What's the first book should be? Tahara, very good. Online. Purification. And Sunan Nasa'i is no exception. It starts with the book of Tahara. And the last book is the book of drinks, Kitab al-Ashriba. Now, at the end, scholars differed. Some of them mention Kitab al-Akhlaq, Kitab al-Adab. But in beginning, in general, all of them start with the book of Tahara, as long as it is a book of Sunan. The total number of ahadith in his book is 5,774. Now, after we finished the introduction, we will discuss one hadith only today, and we will continue inshallah next week. This hadith is chosen from the book of Sahu, Kitab al-Sahu. What's the meaning of Sahu? Sahu. How many times we mentioned that? You are in the second year. What's the meaning of Sahu? Forgetfulness. That's the meaning of Sahu. Sujood al-Sahu. You never heard of that? So why don't you say it? Narrated Ibrahim. Alqama prayed 5 rak'ah. So when he did salam, Ibrahim ibn Suwayd told him, "O Abu Shibl, you prayed 5. He said, "Is that true, O one-eyed?" Then he prayed 2 sujoods of sahu and said, "That's how the Prophet ﷺ did." This is the hadith that we have today. Alqama. Who's Alqama? You don't know. Who's Ibrahim, the narrator? You don't know. And who's Ibrahim ibn Suwayd? Also you don't know. Alqama is not a companion. He is of the successors. Look at the end of the hadith. He prayed and he did 2 sujoods. And he said, that's how the Prophet ﷺ did it. That's what the Prophet ﷺ did. When a successor narrates from the Messenger ﷺ, what do we consider that hadith? What's the name of that hadith? Raise your voice, I can't hear you. Asr? What's the meaning of Asr? You need to go back to hadith terminology. Athar, you're talking about athar? Athar, if it came from a successor or even a companion. But when he narrates from the Messenger ﷺ, it is a hadith. But what type of hadith? Mutlaq? No, we don't have something mutlaq. This is what we call mursal. Mursal. When the Sahabi is not mentioned. That's what we call mursal. The mursal is authentic or weak hadith.
The Sahabi is missing this week.
There is someone is missing, so it should be what? Weak. This very hadith is narrated in Sahih Muslim. So how it is weak? Because it has another link where the companion is mentioned. Who's the companion that is missing here? Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. This hadith took place in Al-Kufa. What happened here? Alqama, if you remember in Al-Kufa, who are the famous people in Al-Kufa of the scholars? One of them is Alqama, and we mentioned his name several times last year. Alqama al-Nakha'i. Alqama al-Nakha'i. He was the best student of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, or one of the best. He was praying, so he prayed 5 rak'ah. After he finished, Ibrahim ibn Suwaid told him, one of his students told him, "Oh Abu Shibl," Abu Shibl is the nickname of Alqamah al-Nakha'i, told him, "You prayed 5. You prayed 5 rak'ah." And this is the point behind this hadith. That's why we are mentioning it in Sujood al-Sahw. What do you do if you add it to the prayer? You prayed 5. So he said, "Is that true one-eyed?" Who's the one-eyed? Who's the one-eyed? Not Ibrahim ibn Suwaid, the first Ibrahim. He wanted to verify, is that true or one-eyed? Is it permissible to call someone if he is blind? Is that true or blind? If there is a black man, is that true or black man? No? Isn't he black? Isn't he blind? Isn't he one-eyed?
If that's what he calls himself also.
Yes?
Because since he can't see, how could he know that he prayed 5 or 4?
We are asking specific question. Can you call someone one-eyed if he's one-eyed? Can you call someone blind if he's blind? Yes or no?
Well, there is people that you call that even though they're not. This is just their family name, or this is just their name.
No.
That's what they call themselves.
If this name was for identification, if it was not offensive, then it is permissible. He is blind, but when you tell him blind, does that put him down? If that's the case, then it is not permissible. But for identification, وَمُعَرِّفِ, as if you remember al-ghiba, one of the exceptions of the ghiba, وَمُعَرِّفِ, when you try to identify someone as one-eyed. And that's permissible. So he asked Ibrahim, is that true or one-eyed? Who is Ibrahim now, the first one? Who is Ibrahim? That's Ibrahim al-Sha'bi. Again, well-known scholar. Ibrahim al-Sha'bi. And also we mentioned him last year. So we have Ibrahim al-Sha'bi, we have Alqamah al-Nakha'i, and we have Ibrahim ibn Suwaid. So Ibrahim ibn Suwaid told him, you prayed 5. Alqamah wanted to verify. So he asked Ibrahim al-Sha'bi, is that true or one-eyed? Now, in this hadith, we don't have the answer. Why we don't have the answer? Why he asked him if he did not wait for the answer? It is implied that he told him yes. Then he prayed. So what did Alqamah do? He prayed 2 sujood of sahw. So what's the ruling if you add to the prayer? You pray sujood sahw. What about these talks?
I don't understand.
You don't understand the hadith. Alqamah prayed 5 rak'ah instead of 4.
Standing and everything.
Yeah, instead of 4.
He prayed 5.
He prayed 5. Once he finished, a man told him, you prayed 5. So he said to another man, wanted to verify, is that true? And he prayed 2 sujood of sahw, and he said that's what the Prophet ﷺ did.
Yeah, that's the relate from the Prophet ﷺ that he said that.
Yeah.
He asked him if he prayed 5. He said, no, I forgot. He didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah, he didn't do it on purpose. All scholars agreed, if you do on purpose, you add something to the prayer on purpose, your prayer is null. That's not the case. So what do you do if you prayed 5? If you add it to the prayer? Exactly, that's the hadith. You pray sujood sahw. So you don't need to pray again the prayer from the beginning. But what about the talk now? Because he finished the prayer, he said salam. Then he talked, and people talked back to him. Then he made sujood sahw. As long as this is for the benefit of the prayer, that's permissible. Just like what happened to the Messenger ﷺ, because it happened to the Prophet ﷺ. So this is the point of the hadith. And as you see, there are many lessons in this hadith.
How do you do sujood al-sahw separately from the prayer? Do you do takbir while you're sitting down?
Again, that's another thing. Is it separately from the prayer? When do we do sujood al-sahw? That's an issue of fiqh will come. Is it before or after prayer? From this hadith we learn that if you added, you do it after the prayer, after the salam. If you missed, then you do it before the salam. When someone tells you something, you verify. That's what Alqamah, rahimahullah, did. He verified from Ibrahim. Is that true? So you don't just do whatever people tell you. Make sure that it is true what they told you. What the Prophet ﷺ, the man told him, is the prayer shortened or you forgot? He said neither one happened. But he asked the people. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to verify. The main point again is sujood al-sahw. How do we do sujood al-sahw? Or what do we do if someone added a rak'ah? Because nowadays you may find people, they will tell you just repeat the entire prayer. No. You forgot, you do sujood al-sahw and that's it. There is nothing to make up. You added to the prayer. So this is what we have for today, inshallah. Is there any questions?
If you stood up and you're walking away,
Yeah.
and someone told you, why did you pray 5 prayers? And you asked them in 5 rak'ah, and someone said, yes, you did. So you stand, you do takbir,
You do,
and you sit down,
yes, you do sujood al-sahw.
and then you do salam.
Well, it depends. Do you do salam again or not? There is difference of opinions. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على محمد وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.